vacation with my husband last year to your new house in the Bahamas. A house you bought with money you stole from this firm. My firm. Jessica, what? You can't use any of this. We have attorney-client privilege. With dry-back accounting, yes. With the sale company?
What is going on, you guys? What's going on, cousins, family, and kinfolk? I know today, of course, was a big day. Today was a big day, y'all. Like, literally. I know a lot of people got decisions back in regards to their LSAT scores, and so a lot of people are either nervous or anxious or trying to figure out, what should I do? Should I go ahead and apply? Should I go ahead and wait again another year? And so we're going to talk about that on today's show. In addition to that, of course, we're also going to do what we always do. We have an amazing guest that's going to be coming on, dropping some gems and sharing her amazing story. And so as our room continues to fill up, I want you guys to let me know where you are in your journey and also where it is that you're viewing our session from. Of course, you know, I'm holding it down over here in Missouri. And so I'm really excited because I want to make sure that as you guys continue on your journey, that you begin to understand and accept some things. Like, hey, it's going to be hard. And in that process, understanding that only thing that's going to be required of us, you guys, is us being able to learn how to really pivot. The more we're able to pivot is the more that we're going to be able to continue to elevate. I hope you guys were able to learn from our last session that we had, our last IG Live that we had, where literally sometimes it's not just about, it's about learning how to be flexible in order to be able to take the next step in your journey. And so as our room fills up, I want you guys to let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. What's going on, Bradshaw? What's going on, Joanne? What's going on, Swervo? What's going on, Ant? What's going on, Ashley? And so I'm really excited about this show because one of the things I understand it right now, because throughout the day, you guys, I was getting text messages and DMs about people trying to figure out what to do. One of the things I want you guys to be able to understand is, irregardless of what score that you got today, let it either one be something that you were happy with or something that you were disappointed with, is that there is still a pathway for you to be able to go to law school. Now, that pathway may not be the easy pathway, the convenient pathway, but there's still a pathway for you to go to law school. If, in fact, it's something that you truly want, then really what happens right now is whenever you get your scores and whatever that score is, it's really going to be a testament for you saying, is this something that you want? Because if it's something that you want, yo, I'm going to tell you that there's still pathways for you to be able to get into anybody's law school. It's just going to come down to you being able to show them that you can do the work. And every year, you guys, there's people who are showing law schools that they can do the work in spite of their LSAT scores. And so I want you guys to be encouraged. I don't want you guys to attach your value or your worth to your LSAT scores because you're so much smarter. You're so much more capable than what stupid test is going to say anything about you. Okay, you guys? And so let's go ahead. Let's see, we got Florida in the house. We got, who else we got in the house? We got Philly in the house. Who else we got up in here? And so, again, I just want you guys to be able to understand. We got Houston in the house, that irregardless of what your scores are, that there's still a pathway for you to be able to go to law school. If you guys were able to, we got Cleveland in the house. What's going on, Philly? And so one of the things, again, I want you guys to be able to understand is that there's 197 law schools, fam. All we need is one yes. All we need is one yes. And one of the things I've learned today and talking to a lot of students today is talking to students throughout the week is I want you guys to be able to understand is that really one of the tests that you're going to have to face is understanding how flexible are you going to be. I had a client earlier this week who was like, I only want to go here and I'm not willing to move. And I want you guys to be able to understand is the more rigid you are in this process, the tougher it's going to be for you to be able to get into law school, which is crazy to think, but literally. And you may have to commute. You may have to travel. You may not, your original plan of being a full-time student and not having to relocate may be different. You may have to consider some other options. I know I drove you guys 2 hours every day for law school for 3 years because it was something that I wanted to do. I knew other people, you guys, who literally, we got Longview, Texas in the house, who would literally only go home on the weekends. And they would stay in hotels during the week because they lived in another state and they wanted to be close by in order to go to law school. I want you guys to understand that the value of stepping outside of your comfort zone is where so many more opportunities are going to come available to you. What's going on, Penn State? And so I want you guys to be able to embrace that concept. Because I had one student say, well, I'm not going to go to that school because it's too far. And we did the Google Maps and saw, well, it's only an hour away. That's an hour drive. Well, I never thought about that. So we have to be able to expand our options, you guys. You have to be understanding, okay, you may have a house that you purchased. Well, maybe because you have a house that you purchased, what's going on, DC? We may have to look into the options of maybe I'm going to go virtual. We know that Syracuse, St. Mary's, Hawaii have virtual programs where you literally only have to go back and visit the law school in person maybe once a month. So I want you guys to understand that your pathway to being able to get accepted into law school really is going to be about you being able to expand your mind and being open to other opportunities. And so who we got here? When should we apply to law school? Law school is something that the official Tony Grant asked, when should we apply to law school? I am of the belief, you guys, that you can apply to law school year round. And what do I mean by that is that oftentimes law schools offer something called rolling admission. Now, when you apply early to law school, Tony, it's going to provide you with opportunities to be able to get more opportunities, more money. Think about it like a pot. And the earlier you apply, there's more money in that pot. So that's one of the advantages. However, one of the things also, Bradshaw, and I want you guys to think about is, guess what? You can also apply to law school for spring semesters. There are law schools that actually offer spring semesters. And guess what, y'all? The competition is not as fierce for the spring. So you could apply for law school for the spring and possibly be able to get into law school at a more competitive law school because people aren't applying for the spring semester. So that's just something for you guys to be able to think about. What's going on, Chelsea? What's going on, Nathaniel? And so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get my guest on. And let's see here. One thing I want to encourage you guys to do is make sure you also go and follow subscribe to our YouTube channel, Makin, Becoming JD. So that way you guys can also be able to listen. Where is it at, Margarita? So you guys can also listen to the full episodes and get all the gems. Let's see here. Where you at, Margarita? I just saw you on here. Let's see here. And so, Margarita, if you could send me an invite so you could be able to join, that'd be fantastic. But let's go ahead. And one of the things I oftentimes want to also do for you guys is wherever you are in this process, I want you guys to feel and get whatever questions you have answered. This is not just something for me to be able to talk to you. I also want to make it a space where you're able to get answers. So please feel free to jump in the chat box and ask a question. And one of the promises I make is that we're going to answer every question that you guys ask. So we want to make sure you come away from this fed full and with a clear picture of what you're going to do. Now, let's go get Margarita on. Try it again. There we go. If you're in third year pre-law program. Hello.
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you perfectly, sis. I hear you perfectly, sis.
There's some
First things first, I am so excited to have you join me. When you sent me that text message, I was like, ask it to my prayer. And so, without further ado, I want to let you guys know this is an amazing young lady here that's going to be doing amazing things.
Thank you.
And don't let the smile fool you, man. She is a hard worker. She's resilient. And of course, you guys are about to hear about her right now. So, Margarita, go ahead, let them know who you are, what you're doing. And let's go ahead and let them know your story so they could be able to do the same thing like you.
Okay, so I've moved to the United States when I was 12 years old. I didn't know any English. The only English I knew was like, hi, how are you? My name is, like, I knew nothing. So that was 7th grade. I did middle school, high school. Then I started at USF and I did criminology. My whole idea at that point, I thought that I was going to be a police officer.
Right.
That was my dream. I wanted to be a police officer. And I did criminology. I don't regret doing it. I loved my undergrad experience. But then I realized that the ultimate goal was to help people. But when you're a police officer, all you do is follow the law and hope that someone else is following through. So I wanted to have a part where I was more proactive into helping people. So then I decided to apply to law school, and I took the LSAT. I didn't know anything about applying to law school. I knew I had to take the LSAT, and that's just something I Googled, how do I get into law school? Like, what's the application process? And they're like, oh, you have to take the LSAT. So I registered for the LSAT. Probably studied for like a month and a half, maybe like 2 months. Mind you, I'm telling everyone I'm going to law school, I'm applying, because I thought the application process was just like undergrad, because that's how it is in the Dominican Republic. So then I took the LSAT, very humbling experience, coming from somebody that never had to study for anything in undergrad. But did I get a horrible score? No. However, during that time period when I knew I wanted to become an attorney, I had amazing mentors, and they were the ones that told me, why don't you wait a cycle? And if you get a higher score, you can get more money. And I was like, what do you mean I can get more money? Just because we take the LSAT. I didn't even know how any of this worked. Thankfully, I listened to them. However, it took a lot of me, and just like being able to tell people like, oh, actually, after I told everyone I was going to law school, like, I have to wait a whole cycle, which is a whole year. And I know a lot of people just go and apply with whatever score they have because they feel the pressure of people like asking you, oh, are you in law school? Yeah, how's going on? So I understand that, but at the end of the day, it's so worth it to just wait sometimes if you know and you think that you could do better.
And so, like, sis, so Margarita, today was D-Day.
Yes.
Where everybody got their scores back. And
yeah,
I remember
I know that feeling.
That process with so many people, like with you, I think with the last cycle. And so I want you to tell people about your preparation. Because at the end of the day, it's a step that we all have to get by.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people trying to figure out, okay, what are some different ways to prepare? Because I think, sometimes, be honest, just opening up a book is sometimes not the most effective way.
No.
So go ahead and spill the tea, sis, and tell them how you did it.
I did everything. People talk about, I actually have the books here. They talk about, what was it? Something about the LSAT, the blue book, is it, what's it called?
Mm-hmm.
So I did that course, and it was a lot of money. I did LSAT exams. I had tutors. I read books. But the one thing that got me there was the logic games. One, that was the easiest thing to learn. And two, a lot of practice. And there's no point on doing a lot of practice exams if you're not going back and reviewing. Because once you review it, you realize that it's the same question. They're just changing the facts. So it's repetition. Then you read the question and you already know. You already know what the question is, what the answer is.
And so I'm going to ask a silly question, all right? Because I get this question all the time. And I was like, you know what? Let me ask Margarita this, because she just was fresh from it. How many hours should I study for the LSAT a day if I want to get my score better? Because I tell people you got to treat it like a full-time job.
The first time I took it, I was working full-time. So I was studying probably twice a week, mostly during the weekend. But once I quit my full-time job and treated the LSAT as my job, was when I saw the results. Because even if you tried your best, even if you really want to get a good score, you're going to be drained by the end of the week. There's just no way. Your brain can only take so much. And unfortunately, if you want to see a big jump on your score, it's not going to happen in 2 to 3 months. And it's
I jokingly tell people, I said, listen, man, you can't do that cute coffee shop studying. You know, the one where you go to the coffee shop, you got your Starbucks, and you're sitting down, got the music, got the nice. Nah, this is the studying where you in the hoodie and the sweats. You got the Red Bull in your hand. You got paper, notebook, Post-its all over the place. And it's just a process that you have to be able to embrace. And so one of the things that's amazing about you is I want you to tell people, like, oftentimes, what is one of your motivations when things got tough? Because I think when people say, oh, Margarita, she's at Stetson Law, she did this, she's about to go out of the country. No, I had to work my butt off for this. And it was not easy.
It was not easy. It was very expensive. I don't think people talk about the expense of taking the LSAT. It's not just registering because obviously there's the expense of taking it more than once if you are doing that. But you have to invest on it because yes, you can learn it yourself, but it's a lot easier when you have the help. And I will say also, it's still hard. It just gets harder actually once you go to law school. So I think just having the motivation of why I'm doing this and just enjoying it
Yeah,
because there's
might
just
as well.
there's no other explanation. I've seen it where people go to law school and they realize it's not what they wanted to do. And honestly, I even have respect for the people that realize that it's not for them during the beginning and are strong enough and have the courage to quit, because it doesn't, it takes a lot on your self-esteem just saying I quit, I couldn't do it, but just knowing that this is what you really want, and that only comes to show when you put in the work.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, it's like oftentimes one of the other things, and for you guys just joining us, we're on live with Margarita, law student at Stetson Law, doing a dang thing. So blessed to have her here. And so I want to ask you, like, the other thing that people have issues with is trying to figure out where to go to school. I mean, because think about it, sis, you kind of had to leave your comfort zone to
Yeah.
go to this law school.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I tell people you have to leave your comfort zone at some point in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell people how that process was for you in making that choice.
Okay, so first I was basing my choice on what was close to me.
Yeah.
I
remember that.
I live in Tampa, Florida, which Stetson is actually one of the closest ones to me. But that's not how I came about my decision. I ended up applying because of you to places like Brooklyn. I did Miami Law. I did FIU. I did a lot of more schools that I wasn't even thinking of going, but I just wanted to see what they had to offer. And ultimately, even though I picked Stetson, I had schools like Brooklyn Law that offered me more money, but I was able to use that acceptance letter, that offer, to negotiate. So even if you don't think that's your first choice, you might need it, and it might be helpful later on in your admission process to negotiate.
All right, so for you guys who didn't get what she's saying is one of the reasons why you apply to multiple law schools is not for the sake of, I want to go there. It's about using this leverage. And I remember when we was going through that discussion, I don't want to go there. I'm not trying to. I was like, if we're able to get a waiver.
I am not going to Brooklyn.
I remember. But I want you guys to be able to understand. And so she was able to use those acceptances as leverage. Because let's be honest, man, the first offer is not ever the best offer. And if you're able to how was that negotiation process like for you? You guys understand you can negotiate with law schools. Tell them how you did it, sis.
So first I researched if my law school even actually negotiated. That was the first thing, because some law schools just simply don't. Then, sorry, that's my dog Max. Then I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. They're not gonna like it. But you told me to do it. We wrote an amazing letter. I attached the other offers I had from other schools, and they were able to negotiate. That was it.
Because the thing is, you guys, is that law schools ain't gonna be like, oh my God, no, Margarita didn't give us back our acceptance.
In my head, yes.
But we have that fear that that's what's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. But the thing about it, you guys, is beautiful, because at that time, let's be honest, at that time, we're always questioning ourselves until we get that first acceptance.
Honestly, till this day, I still question myself. I see myself in this room with 100 people, and I'm like,
how did I get here?
Because like I think of myself a year ago, 2 years ago, when I had to wait another cycle, and I'm like, maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is too hard. Maybe I can find another way of helping people the way that I want to help people. But at the same time, I realized that if it's meant to you, if it's meant to be for you, there is nothing you can do that will take you away from that path. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. You are going to be in that path no matter what you do. It's almost like you're fighting with God. You're like, no, I'm going this way. And God's like, nope, you're going this way. And he brings you right back into your path. There's nothing you can do.
And like one of the things oftentimes that I remember, like, since I had to wait a year before I went to law school, mm-hmm. after I got accepted, like during that year, how did you go about, because let's be honest, that year you had to do a lot of growth. Mm-hmm. I tell tell
Yeah.
people that this application process teaches you a lot about yourself. Um,
And I think you need to go through that to have the resilience to survive law school.
yeah. Yeah.
If part of it is, listen, I already did all of that. There is no way I'm quitting right now. That's part. That's part of it. The other part is, if I did that and I literally taught myself this whole exam, and I have these amazing professors and this whole school willing to teach me, how am I not going to pass this exam? How am I not going to learn?
Facts. Big facts.
Just,
And I think the thing also is just like being able, because I guess it's like you get that reality check. You're looking in this room, it's like, I'm here.
yeah,
Like,
I deserve it. I got this spot.
yeah. And the thing about it, you guys, is I want you guys to be able to understand. I mean, the power first starts with yourself. And I want it, like, for example, sis, there's some people out there, and I've got a couple text messages. I give everybody my number.
Especially today, because it came out.
Yeah. And so I want to know, like, to someone out there who's thinking about giving up. I mean, we kind of all go through that too.
Yeah.
But what would you say to them?
I would say think of why you started, as I said before, and two, think of what the future will look like. Because I think if you can start thinking of yourself in that situation already, it becomes achievable. Because everything you do in between getting to that goal will lead you there, because you're already seeing it. So I think also breaking it down into little wins. So like my little wins. Yes, my first win was, okay, I got the LSAT score. All right. The other thing that people don't even realize, the admission process is not easy. Writing a personal statement, I thought I was able to just sit down and apply and write an essay. No. So then my other little win was being able to write an amazing personal statement. My other little win was thinking about negotiating my scholarship. My other little win, and if you take it in little steps with the goal of, what's the goal? I'm going to graduate law school. Then, well, actually, no. The goal is passing the bar after the law school. Let's make it clear.
And so I want to ask, like, you brought up something about, like, for example, you talked about your essays.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes one of the things I tell you, and I mean, we work together, I really stress to you guys the importance of making sure that you're one of one, sharing who you are and how your story is different. And so what were some of the challenges you had in writing your personal statement? And how did you kind of overcome them?
So I refused to have, or I had this idea that I didn't want to make my story like everyone else's. So I didn't want to talk about, oh yeah, I'm an immigrant, I had to learn a new language, and because in my head, I'm like, well, everybody had to do that. How does that make me different? But at the same time, I think realizing that really is my story, one, but think of what makes you, what makes you different within that story. Just don't stick to it as the only thing that's different about you. So I, with Miss Latina Tampa 2020, I spoke about what I did, what I learned, the activities that I did with the community, how that led me into working in the legal field, the different fields I worked in. So I worked in immigration, I worked in family law, property, I interned for a judge. So I think like all those things at the same time, people might not realize, but there are disabilities that people can't see. And there are things that also come with not having English as your first language. It's already hard enough for English speakers, So those are all things that come into play and that make you different. So yeah, that's part of it.
And I remember, like, because we had some of our other brothers and sisters-in-law on the chat who I've worked with, and you know how I would start off the session by asking you if somebody rolled up on you and said, "Dang, did it hurt when you fell from heaven?" You remember that?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I asked you, what would you say to them? What did you tell me you would say?
What did I say? I said no.
Right. And so what that phrase, and I'm sure Kendrick's on here, I see Alexandria on here, I see Chelsea is on there. You guys have heard it before. Is that your goal, and Margarita said it very well, is that your goal is to present something that's going to make people want to learn more about you. And oftentimes what's going on, Chanel, I tell people is that if we got to treat it like Netflix. Margarita, when you watch Netflix, what show are you binge watching on Netflix while you're studying?
Well, now Suits. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I just stick to Suits because something that I can watch.
And so, like, and the thing about it is, you guys, is just like, for example, when you go to Netflix, you cut on the TV, and you're watching something for 5 seconds on Netflix, you're going to make an immediate decision if you're going to watch it, sit down and want to learn more about it, or if you're going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, that's what law schools are doing. They're making that quick decision. And your goal is to make them want to stop and want to learn more, right? And so we have to make sure that we're sharing something to make them want to learn more about us. And so one of the things I also want to ask you, so this is the thing that's amazing, is I want you to talk about how you use your own unique stories to make yourself stand out.
I think part of it was, like I said, not only talking about my difference as a person, like everybody has their own story, everybody has struggles, everybody's going to write that, but how are you able to make your class better? What can I bring to this melting pot of people? What's different that is going to help in class, because I will be able to bring a different perspective of things. So that's why we want diversity or we try to get diversities, but I think that also has a big role in like what makes you different, because you have different perspectives that people in your class are not thinking or your professor is not thinking about. So I think I was able to bring that out into my personal statement, and it definitely, I think it helped.
All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and talk. So you go from Florida to now you got to get sweaters because it's cold, to winter with snow.
No. So I actually never went to Brooklyn Law. I decided to stay at Stetson in Gulfport, which is an hour away from me. I live in Tampa, so I have to drive an hour every morning and an hour back. But
so I want you guys to understand, sometimes in pursuit of your dream, you're going to have to commute. You're going to have to be uncomfortable.
It's either that or you're going to take a bunch of loans to stay closer and then have to pay them back. And I'm not trying to do that.
And so also one of the things I want you to tell people about, because a lot of people, let's be honest, I didn't really know about law school till I went. Mm-hmm. What is law school like at Stetson? People out there who are looking at school from the outside looking in, how is Stetson? And
okay.
What has your experience been like there so far?
So I was blessed enough to know my mentors who went to Stetson, and I also had the opportunity of interning with students that at the time I wasn't in law school, but they were. So that was awesome because they were able to give me an insight of the school, what the culture looks like, because it's one thing when you see it online and it's another thing when you go to the school. So I was blessed in that sense. I knew what I was getting myself into. I do feel supported at Stetson. However, one is just hard for everyone. It doesn't matter what law school you go to, it's supposed to be hard. And I think that realizing that it doesn't matter where you go, it will be hard anyways, as long as you have the right support. And even if you have the right support, you also have to know how to look for it. So like my school has a bunch. So they have business students affairs, they have psychologists in the actual campus, but you don't know about it, or they will send an email and you're like, yeah, announcement, I'm not looking into it. So you have to be proactive and look for the help, ask for the help, attend the events. And this has nothing to do with the school, but I think having a mentor just was the pivotal point for me.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things you said is so true. Like, the thing about law school is different than undergrad is law school is going to give you everything you need. They're just not going to beg you to take it.
Exactly. So, that's the biggest difference. I don't think it's so much as to where you're going and at Stetson as a whole, but just working proactive and going and getting the help.
And so, like, for example, other questions. Oftentimes, how was things? I mean, people at times, they're scared of teachers. Afraid to think that they're going to bite their head off, think they're going to curse them out. How was your interactions been like with teachers?
Okay, are you ready for this story?
I'm ready.
So my class, I think we were 300 and something students, and then we get split into sections, right? So my section, I think it was like 100 and something, we're each 100. And out of 100 people, First day of class. Guess who gets cold called? Me. I hear Margarita. I'm like, this is not happening. I think I even said it out loud. I said, no way. There's no way. I think I said it out loud. I'm pretty sure I did. And he just went on and asked me a question I will never forget. It was contracts. It was Papa's versus Bieber. I will never forget that case in my life. Do I remember how he asked me? No. Do I remember what I answered? No. But I do remember that at the end of the class, I got an email from that professor and said, good job today.
Wow.
They're human. Did I answer that question? I don't know. To this day, I could probably ask one of my classmates, did I answer the question? They don't even remember either. Either professors are more, I'm still this day, I'm still shy talking in class sometimes, but I think that once you start participating, you lose the fear.
Absolutely.
And if you can't do it in front of a professor, how are you going to do it in front of a judge?
She said it. Facts.
So this is like I think of it as like a practice run. I can mess up here. Yeah, we all messed up in class. So I think it gets to a point that like, okay, yeah, you didn't get the question. You're gonna get cold called regardless. You don't know when, so just don't even stress about it. Get your readings done and hope for the best.
All right, so let's see here. Some other questions people may ask. Well, how much legal experience did you have before you applied to law school?
I worked as a legal assistant.
You did, right?
First at a immigration law firm. Yes, it was immigration first. No, it was property first. And when I started working there, I had no experience, zero. So they taught me how to e-file, how to draft, easy things, but I was still always supervised. And then I worked at an immigration and family law, which was a lot smaller, like a small firm. And there you don't get as much help because they don't have the resources.
Yeah.
So that was like a reality check for me. I'm like, am I really going to do this? Because they're trusting in you to do the job. Yes, someone's going to oversee it, but if you're not able to at least, like I said again, and be proactive and research and how am I going to do this?
Y'all catching that tea? Y'all catching that tea?
Because I think that's having that perspective from working at a law firm and then applying to law school and going to law school, I understand what it will be like.
You understand the value of personal accountability. Yeah. Understanding like the value of your name, almost to the degree when you hear your name called, there's a value that's attached to that. And I want you guys to be able to understand. I hope you guys see a pattern here. The whole time what Margarita has demonstrated to you guys is a willingness to be able to listen, learn, and accept, okay, I may not know how to do it, but I'm going to be open to learning. And it does not mean I'm not smart. It does not mean I'm not capable. At the end of the day, Margarita said, I don't give a damn what you guys think. you didn't know the answer either. You know what?
I didn't want to say it in those terms, but in reality.
And I think, like, sis, like, one of the biggest barriers that I really hear from a lot of people is they don't want to ask for help. And that comes to the LSAT, that comes to law school. For some reason, they're concerned about asking for help, as if asking for help is going to be an indictment. I tell people jokingly, but seriously, Margaret, think about it, man. Right now, if you wanted to, you could pull up your phone and you could send a direct message to the President of the United States. Now, will he respond? Probably not. But with that same capability, if I've told people, if you have an issue with the question on the LSAT, why don't you just DM one of the LSAT writers?
I think people also have to realize that everyone's struggling. Just because they're not voicing it and they can hide it better than you, or you're not with them when they are struggling, does not mean that they're not struggling. Everyone is struggling. It doesn't matter if it's the LSAT, in law school, at a law firm, everyone is struggling. Like, I wish I could, like, all caps, everyone is struggling. I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure. However, that struggle is what's going to lead you to, one, be confident in yourself because you overcome it, and two, learn from it. So
you got that? You got that, Maria? You got that, Simone? You got that, Javier? And so the thing that's amazing, though, it's just like, so now one of the things that happens, I feel like in your first year of law school, what you ultimately, the first semester is about really unlearning bad habits from undergrad.
Yeah.
And then by finals time, if you're lucky, you now know what you need to do to be successful. So what are some of the bad habits that you kind of had to unlearn? And what is the new, the new version of you applying to be successful now in law school?
This is something I'm working on, but I procrastinate a lot because in undergrad I was able to just 11:59. I can just sit there and do it easy. When they give you a deadline, oh, it's a month away. I'm like, yeah, I'll deal with it next week. Next week comes around, I'll deal with it next week. And then you sit down and you realize the amount of research you have to do, the amount of time your research is going to take, because you're not a professional at this. That's why they pay lawyers so much money, because they can do it easy, fast. And that's something that I learned. I messed up. I remember I had a midterm. It was a ran assignment, and I turned it in last minute. When I tell you last minute, it was on the dot. I was about to not be able to submit it. And these professors have very harsh rules when it comes to late submissions, because that's how the court works.
Right.
If you miss a deadline, that's a big deal. That might be the difference between you having a case and you not having a case because you miss a deadline. So that is something that if you can work on, just having a schedule set up where, okay, on Monday I'm doing this, on Tuesday I'm doing this, and following it, that might prevent you from being a procrastinator. And maybe I'm still working on it. But having a strict schedule, and something I messed up on, I used to work out all the time, and I stopped working out because I was having these readings. These readings were taking me at the first semester 4 hours. Like, I would tell people, I'm like, how is this possible? How am I reading for 4 hours, one course, just one day, 4 hours, and I have 3 more courses I have to focus on? But that was a big mistake, because that was what was giving me happiness, that. So then I quit what made me happy to complete these readings, and then I would go to class and not have the answer right, and it's like, well, what's going on? When you're not supposed to have the answer. There's no way you're going to have the answer. You don't know what they're going to ask you. So following a routine and sticking to don't throw away what brings you joy, because you think that you don't have the time to do it.
And the thing is, it's about just finding your own balance,
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the other things, and that's something that, learning, also one of the things I wonder for you is, like, when I was in college, I was kind of what I call a memorize and forget it type of studier. Yeah. I memorized it for the day and I forgot it. Mm-hmm. And that didn't work in law school. And so what did you do to help in regards to studying and preparing? Because I'm sure that could be helpful to some people right now.
At first, I realized I was taking too many notes, because I was so worried about being cold called and not having the answer that I will write everything down. I'm like, there is no way I won't know what this man's going to ask me if I wrote everything down. When in reality, that's not what's important. What's important is that you're understanding the concept. So I think, first of all, start outlining early.
And I had to learn, you know what? They kind of give you the cheat sheet on the outline with the syllabus.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But we have a question here, sis. So Janelle Ruiz asks, for someone struggling with the LSAT multiple times, what advice can you give? I don't want to give up just yet. I'll give the floor to you, Margarita. You answer that question.
I would say, why are you taking it so many times? Because if you don't feel like you're ready, you can always change the date. So if you're not scoring within the range of what you want on practice exams,
it's not going to happen on the real one.
It's not going to happen on the real one. It might be a 2-3 point variation, but it's not far from the truth. So I think just being honest with yourself and actually, like, put a date. Because if you say, I'm going to take it on December 13th and it's October, you know that you have this much time to study. But that doesn't mean that if you get there and you didn't study, then you're going to move it again. So maybe having an actual date where by this time I will be scoring within this range on my practice exam. And if you feel discouraged, trust me, everyone does at some point. But maybe you can also look into other paths. You don't have to follow this rigid, like, I'm gonna get this LSAT and I'm gonna apply to the school, and you don't have to be a regular applicant. That doesn't make you a better lawyer. That's not gonna mean anything at the end of the day when you graduate. So if you feel like that's not going to work for you, then maybe try to look for other paths you can do. I know there's like part-time programs where they value more of not just the LSAT, they see your experience, because those are the applicants doing that. There's also schools that I think they do like a 1 year like a program, and then you start law school. So maybe look into those programs. I'm not saying that you can't do the LSAT, but it is an option that maybe they're not aware of.
And just to piggyback on what Margarita, she's dropping straight facts. Because one of the things that really screwed me up, sis, I took the LSAT 7 times, Margarita. And did I really take time to study? Or was I really kind of being managed by my ego? Like, oh my God, I got a bad score. I need to go sign up and set up again and take the test again. I never took time to really sit down to identify what I did wrong to try to make it right.
And nobody likes to do that. Nobody likes to be like, oh, I messed up. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. You always blame it on something else. I think that I had to learn that. I had to learn to not have the victim mentality, because I'm like, oh, I don't speak English. How am I supposed to do this? Oh, you speak English. You feel great English. Okay? and yes, it will take me longer to read these passages, but I'm like, if you want to do this, you're going to have to stop thinking like that and just get quicker at reading. That's it.
And that's what you call personal accountability. And it sucks. I get man enough to tell you, there have been days when I'm cried over this damn test. I remember
Listen.
Throwing the book, cursing the book out, and the book just sitting in the corner saying, you're going to pick me back up. Go ahead. You're going to pick me back up. But it's just a part of the process. But like what Margarita said, by being honest with yourself, sometimes, like Margarita improved her score by taking time off and in between studying, because it's very rarely that you're going to actually be able to improve your score with 1 month left of study. Because I think with the test, literally the break in between each test is like, what, 2 months? That's not really enough time. But, but Margarita also says something that's amazing. Now law schools are providing different pathways, right? Like Margarita,
absolutely.
You know that Georgetown Law School said that they're going to reserve 10 slots for law school students for this class without looking at LSAT scores or GREs.
Where was that when I needed it?
I know, right? And so law schools are aware that LSAT scores are not always an accurate representation. But that means that we have to go above and beyond to find other opportunities for us. So the JD Next is a new thing that they just did, Margarita, where people can take that as opposed to the LSAT. And I think like 35 law schools and counting are accepting the JD Next. And I think you can find a list of the schools that are accepting it in our IG stories. And also, of course, you can do the GRE, or you can do some part-time program. And so there's so many different pathways to go to law school. And, one of the things sometimes we have to do, and Margarita did, I know it's hard, sometimes we do kind of have to wait. How was that waiting when you heard your family and your friends?
Horrible.
I thought you were applying to law school.
Because,
we go. Hater alert.
It was horrible, not because they didn't think I could do it. I had a decent score. It was horrible because I thought that I let them down. Not because they told me or they were thinking it, but inside of me, I thought that oh my gosh, I told them I was doing this now, and now I'm not applying because of money, because that was a factor. And they thought that, in my head, I thought that they were thinking that I couldn't do this. But at the same time, none of my friends or family have been to law school, so they don't understand how much the LSAT has an input into scholarships. So even if I try to explain them left to right, from another, and in Spanish, in English, I would try to explain them in every way I could. They just didn't understand. So I think that just knowing that it's the right decision for you, what's important for you, also helps you deal with how you're feeling. Because I personally value my time, and I don't want to graduate law school with $200,000 in debt, where I have to be working who knows how many hours to be able to pay it back.
I'll say it. Margarita said it very nicely. I'm gonna say it, what she's saying is, listen, man, you gotta stop caring about what other people think. This is
Yeah.
your
Do you
life. This is your
do you
dream.
think that Margarita 2 years ago will be on live right now?
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Uh-uh.
You can't be concerned with what people think. And one of the things that Margarita said that made me hit is oftentimes we find ourselves valuing the opinions of people who are not doing anything remotely close to what we're doing with our life.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot live our life for anybody else's approval other than our own. And Margarita's so sweet and nice what she says, but I had to think about me.
Yeah.
What's best for me? They not gonna be paying these bills. I am. This is my dream. And sometimes, even though we love to support, and don't get me wrong, sometimes we definitely need love and support along this journey because it's hard.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's
That was
hard right
another
now for
determining.
folks.
That was another factor of me
Mm-hmm.
going to school close to home. I didn't want to be alone when it gets hard, and I know that I'm going home and my mom is cooking food and she's gonna be there for me and listen to me, even though she has no clue what I'm talking about. She has no
Right.
clue what a phone call is, and just having that support means the world, and you are going to need it. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to need it. And I don't know how people do it where they just move and just commute. I'm telling you.
And that's why one
bad.
of the questions I ask all my students now, Marguerite, and I say it may sound weird, but where do you have family at? You're like, what? Where is your family at? Because you want to be somewhere close by, within at least 2-hour drive distance, so you can have somewhere to get a good meal, to lay your head, someone to be able to cry cry on their shoulder or something. Because I mean, I know right now for a lot of you guys, wherever you are on your journey, you think that whatever you're currently facing is just so unbearable. Well, I just asked this question because it's just funny. When you think about where you were with the LSAT and where you are now, what is the difference? I mean, the LSAT was everything. Now,
yeah.
now what do you think about it?
I think that I was so obsessed with it that in my head I was like, oh, once I pass this exam, it's on. Like my life is fixed. It just, okay, you got into law school, and I wish I could go back and take the LSAT. I will go and study for the LSAT again, then do some of these courses right now, because now you always know that there's a competition of the LSAT, like there's people taking it with you, but your score does not depend on how other people do. So that is just a factor that blows my mind when I hear about the curve. I'm like, what curve? What the heck is that? Like, and nobody really, till this day, I can't explain it to you. I don't know how it works.
The curve is a nightmare that people it's going to be an experience.
But again, because I was able to do the LSAT, I know that I can do this. So yes and no. I like see the LSAT as like, oh my God, it was so easy now that I have something harder to do. But at the same time, I know that now, once I graduate law school and I had to take the bar, I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I wish I was in law school, not taking this bar exam. There will always be something harder.
Right. And I mean, all it is, you guys, is just building on itself. And in that process, what's also happening, you guys, is you're growing in the process. You're building your own stamina in regards to what you're able to manage and tolerate. And to the point that one day you guys are going to be in law school. Check it out. You remember when you sat in law school and you realize, and you go to the library and you see people with sleeping bags and like they're sleeping and laying in there. You're like, okay, this is something different. This is a whole. When you hear people, and you tell me this, what happens at your school?
Yeah.
You hear people are taking drugs, not for the sake of the high, but to stay up to do work. That's when I was like, okay, this is a whole nother level. Have you had any of those experiences?
Not those particular experiences, but one day, I think it was midterm season, and I was like, I'm gonna wake up early tomorrow and I'm gonna be the first one there. I was there at 6 a.m. There were people there since 4 or 5. I left that same day. I left around probably 6 p.m. They were still there.
Woo.
So you look at that and you're like, am I not working hard enough?
Exactly.
Should I be doing more? And there's even like groups, like there's like study groups that have never worked for me, unfortunately. I'm like, I like to study alone, and then I will join a group if I have questions or something like that. But I'm like, what in the world? How are you able to study for that long? But then I took finals, and I was able to study for that long. How? I don't know if it's the adrenaline, the competition, the pressure. I don't know, but listen, you bring this strength out of I don't know where, and you're able to do it. Call it passion. I don't know.
I tell people another thing. Fear is a powerful drug itself. Realizing
In
that
comparison,
there is no plan B. Like, there's no plan B. I have nothing else to go back to. This is it. But the thing about it also makes you realize just when you think you study, I'm studying hard.
Got this.
So somebody else is studying harder. But also it makes you realize it's about you learning how to operate outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And LSAT kind of prepares you for that. But even then, when you go to law school, you're going to have to extend it even higher. And then when you go take the bar, you're going to extend it even higher. And then after that, it's just going to be your everyday. But, sis, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I want you to tell our followers, our family, our cousins, our kinfolk, where they can follow you on Instagram if they have questions. Because a lot of times, man, they be having questions about this law school game, man. What better than to get someone like you to answer?
I need to see more diversity at schools. That is one of my goals, like one of my personal goals. That's not even professional. So I need to see more diversity in school. When I say diversity, I'm not talking about just black, white, Asian. That, yes, I want to see more Hispanics in class, please. But people with disabilities, people from different religions. So if you ever feel like this is not for you because you don't think you belong, please come join me. And I am more than happy to help you. My Instagram is Margarita DCURY. I had people help me and help me believe in myself and what I could do. And the only way that I could repay them for that is helping other people. So please, I am more than available, especially during weekends. I can tutor you during, well, probably logic games. If I can remember, I will try to remember. But even if you just need someone to talk, I am more than happy. I know that I remember I had so many questions, and I will go on YouTube trying to like find answers, and just there was no people that I could relate to. So I am always open. I might take a few hours to respond, but I got you. I am here for you.
All right, so y'all hear that, family? Now listen, man, this is a community. I tell people, the Becoming JD Tribe, we continue to grow and grow and grow. And I want you guys to be able to understand that you are not on this journey by yourself. We have people here to help you wherever you are on your journey. We want you, but again, you have to go and reach out. She's not going to bite you if you ask a question, just like the professors aren't going to bite you.
Correct.
We want to see you win. Like Margarita said, we want to see diversity. We want you to realize that those challenges that you're going through, that does not mean you can't be a lawyer. It just means that it's time for you to grow to take the next step. Margarita, I want to give you the final word of encouragement to give to these people before we leave. Go ahead. Take it away.
Well, you already heard my story. It was hard. It was difficult, but I'm already here. So next year, I'm so excited. I will be pursuing an LLM with my school, which is amazing. And I will still graduate with my class. So just think of it as look at where she was, look at where she is, and look at where she's going. Please don't give up. And yeah, I'll see you guys.
All right, you guys. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much, Margarita.
Bye-bye.